and better looking than I am, and she's staring at me. She comes over to the table while she was dancing. She must have been a perfect dancer because she could really twirl around. She come up to me with her hands open, and she looked at me, and then she went back to the bar. Well, I didn't pursue it. I'm an older guy. She was a younger woman, so I didn't pursue that. But the second factual thing that happened, and just like I told you, I have to wait for something else to happen to tell me or smack me inside the head and say, hey, this is real. My brother and I was back in there in the same nightclub, and we were about ready to play that weekend, so we had talked to the owner. And there was this girl that was sitting a stool or so away from me, and I asked my brother, one of my brothers with me, I said, is that the same girl that danced up to her table? He looks over and he goes, yeah, that looks like her. She was in blue jeans and wasn't dressed up. And while I was sitting there, she turned her eyeballs, not her head, just her eyeballs. And she had kind of like big eyes, and they had slits in them, like a reptilian eye. I looked at her, and I go, oh, my God. I had a sinking feeling in my stomach. I asked my brother, I said, did you see her? He goes, no. He said, I didn't. A lot of people aren't as alert, I guess, being through combat and being introduced to ETs. I'm hyper alert, so I try to notice everything. But she just sat there, didn't say nothing, but just rolled her eyes to me with that big green slit in her eye. And I just felt kind of weak at that point. I said, oh, my goodness, that's why she's attracted to me, because I got an implant, and I've been enlightened by the ETs, and she was able to pick me out of the crowd because of that.
That is scary.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Could you imagine if I was a hound dog, if I would have, hit on her, taken her home, and become her meal, like you said. Again, too, James, as you know, there's around 50,000 people a year that are vanishing that the FBI can't figure out where they're going. But they're going somewhere. Now, yes, there are serial killers out there taking some of them, but not 50,000 people. And this is in our country alone, let alone all the other countries. People are massively disappearing. Are we being taken aboard and maybe being in a food chain with one of these species? I don't know, but I certainly would not want to find out.
Me neither, and that's a big body mass of people. It takes up space, so it's got to go somewhere. I mean, it's either being consumed or totally evaporated in some form. I mean, think about it. And this is every year. It's not, a 1 year thing, a one and done. This is continuing.
Well, James, remember the one person we said, they said that from somebody that they knew very well that was abducted and been taken aboard UFOs, that when they are done, what did they do with the people when they were done with them?
When they were done with them, they had a big vat, and they would drain all the liquid out of them and drop them down in the vat, and it would just more or less burn them all up to nothing.
Incinerate them.
Yep, nothing left.
Yeah, they would dehydrate them to nothing, take all the liquid out of them, and then they would dispose of the body by cremation.
What was the species that did that?
The same one. It looked at you and then disappeared.
Oh,
yep.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's they live underground in Dulce, places of that like that. They still live the underground tunnels, in which are vast, and we don't even know the half of them.
Dave, sorry, Dave.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, do you think there's different species vying to abduct you, competing to abduct you, different ones?
Yeah, I've seen 3 of them, and actually 4, counting the short cobra guy. I've seen one with blue spots. This was a regressed dream that I had, and it was very vivid, very vivid. I walked through this metallic hallway, and I come to this door, and there was he was a humanoid. I didn't see his face. For some reason, I don't get a chance to see their faces much, but I saw his arm, and he took me by the hand, and his arm had blue spots on it. He was a hybrid blue alien, apparently. The blue aliens from India, way back when, I guess 1000 BC in India, where they had these, they said blue people, and they were aliens. Well, he must have been a hybrid because he had blue spots all over his arms, and I noticed the little things, and he had little hairs on his arms, and so I knew he must have been humanoid. And he looked at, and he seemed like an older one, and then he showed me to the floor, and then there was a female with long dark hair laying under a white sheet or some kind of a covering. He told me to get down behind her, and I got down, and I guess I made love because it kind of felt like it. And a lot of guys asked me, said, "Did you ever have sex with an alien?" I said, "Yes, I believe so." And it felt like it. I got back up, and then he motioned me over to the doorway, the hallway, the metallic and a glass partition there, and he told me to walk down it. So I walked down that little hallway, and then I come back, and then I woke up, and I thought, what just happened? I just had an incredible dream, but I didn't see this one's face. Then another one that I saw, I guess I'll get to the entities that I ran into. The other one I saw, I was on board a ship. All of a sudden, I was on a board ship, and then it seemed like there were supplies or something in the ship, and I saw 4 humanoid-looking people in spacesuits. They had yellow helmets on, and they had white suits, and they carried a box with them. I guess that was their survival box, whatever. And they walked into this glass enclosure. I guess that was kind of like Star Trek. They were beaming them out somewhere else. And then I looked down to my right, and here stands about a 4.5 foot, 5 foot tall human-looking entity with really bright blue eyes, kind of a big head, kind of looked like a baby's face, and real dark blue eyes, piercing eyes, and looked up at me. And then that was it. That's all I remember. And those are things that I can't dream up. Those are things that I've not been associated with, especially with the little short baby face, blue-eyed humanoid creature. But I saw that they do have them listed. There's a lot of those aliens that are listed, that there's different types of species, and they said there's something like 4 species running our country, and there's 4 of them that's vying for this world, but they're having little problems in dealing with it, I guess.
Wow, that's a scary thought in itself. I got to tell you, how many times do you remember being abducted all through your life, Dave?
The first one when I was 14, and then the one that was beside my bed. I was abducted. I guess they call it bedside work. They do it in your bed. All they do is take samples. I've had a couple of times where I've seen a hose going towards my groin area, and I tried to kick it away, and they were taking semen samples at that point. And it was I even saw the color on one of the tubes. It was kind of a light tan color that went to my groin, and I tried to kick it away, and then all of a sudden I went back out again. I guess I was giving it too much trouble. But those are kind of like bedside work in which they do. Now, when they take you, a lot of times they don't take you and take you on board ship. They can do it right in your bedroom. They can take what they need, samples, or they're keeping up with you. They might take you once or twice to give you a thorough once-over, but a lot of times they can do this at the bedside. They can take scrapes of skin, DNA samples, semen samples. Now, with women, it's a little bit more tougher. The procedure for getting eggs is a little bit more, I guess, involved. So a lot of times they're probably taken to the ship, and they do the needle and the incision through the top and remove the eggs. So that might be more involved, but with a man, it's not as involved.
Well, one thing I will say, there is a guest that's coming up after the 15th of November. She claims when she was abducted, she was taken aboard a UFO and examined and that, and prodded and poked and injected with stuff and went through a lot of pain. But then she, about a year later, got married. They were trying to have kids and she couldn't have a kid. So she went to the doctor and she had no eggs. They've been all removed.
Wow. Yeah. I kind of figured, that's what they do. A lot of times they don't take all the eggs away. They try to be discreet about it. They don't want you to have some evidence or whatever. But they're pretty sharp. They're pretty smart. They know what they're doing. They can manipulate us, knock us out. They can dumb us down. They can do what they want. I think a lot of times with me, they kind of put me out, but I do have a memory where I can regress. And one of the biggest regressions I had, and it happened during the time I was really being almost electrocuted 3 times in January, February, and March of 2012. 3 different times, almost a month apart. I'd be in bed at 1:30. The first one was 1:30 in the afternoon. It was broad daylight. Had the door wide open. I can look out the door, and I just lay there, rest my back. I got really tired, and that's another sign that they're starting to work on you. They're throwing some magnetic energy on you and making you tired, so they can get you to manipulate you where they want you to be. So I laid on the bed, and all of a sudden I was up on my elbow like I usually am. I guess that's a habit. I was, and my one arm was up against the headboard, and I felt this shock in my right shoulder, and I tried to turn, and when I did, it shocked me even more. It was a loud crackling sound, like you take a whole box of saltine crackers and just crunch them. It sounded like that, but it kept going. It was really loud. And I thought, what is this? And I tried to move again, and it hit me again. And I could look out the door, and I could see the sun shining really bright. And I was on my left side, and I heard my sister's voice. She said, "Come on, Dave, you can do it. Come on, you can do it." I said, "Do what, sissy?" And she was like talking from the hallway. That's where the voice sounded like it was coming. And she's now, mind you, she's been dead 4 years at that point. And I heard her voice from the grave through this whole episode.
Now, Dave, we got to hold on till we get done with our break. So we'll be back in 2.5 minutes. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark with our guest, Dave Emmons, talking about his encounter of being abducted with aliens. We'll be back shortly.
Selfish and cruel since his youthful days in school. His siblings he never did treat well. His self-centered bent was his dark side lament, with a focus on hypnotizing spell. He memorized laws to help sharpen his claws for a future for which he was bent. The time would surely come when for office he would run and claim he was just heaven sent.
Another politician has just taken center stage. He tells all the people that he loves them so. He comes on like a sage, says with him they should engage. A false prophet selling endless empty prose.
Stepped over dead bodies on his climb to the top. The highest post was his aspiration. but he forgot to read the fine print in the contract that he signed, which caused a U-turn to his final